Humans are social creatures. We need to live in groups to survive. That way, specific members of the group can specialize, in different things. That's why we feel the need to form social circles. That's why we feel we all need to belong to something. Even supposed loners are this way, preferring the company of one or two other trusted individuals to complete solitude. So saying, I want to be popular may sound shallow. It is actually perfectly normal as long as it isn't taken to the extreme. It only becomes unhealthy when a person is willing to change their self completely for the group. Then it is less of a group mentality than a herd mentality, which I believe is an indicator of some personal imbalance. This is where we find our narrator. Now, before you start, little Twihard, I understand that she has no need for ordinary people. When around her fellow human classmates, she claims loner status, and is annoyed by all the unrealistic attention she receives from them. No, where the problem lies is in how she fits among her group of preference, the Cullens. They are of course not human, but they do behave as if they are, otherwise they wouldn't bother living together or attending high school hell for all of eternity. Upon the moment she lays eyes on them, Bella shows signs of being drawn to them over those around her. All one needs to do is read how she introduces them to see that. Note the flattering language here. It was there, sitting in the lunchroom, trying to make conversation with 7 curious strangers, that I first saw them. They were sitting in the corner of the cafeteria, as far away from where I sat as possible in the long room. There were 5 of them. They weren't talking, and they weren't eating, though they each had a tray of untouched food in front of them. They weren't gawking at me, unlike most of the other students, so it was safe to stare at them without fear of meeting an excessively interested pair of eyes. That's ridiculous. But it was none of these things that caught and held my attention. They didn't look anything alike. Of the 3 boys, one was big, muscled like a serious weightlifter, with dark curly hair. The other was taller, leaner, but still muscular, and honey blonde. The last was lanky, less bulky, with untidy bronze-colored hair. He was more boyish than the others, who looked like they could be in college, or even teachers here rather than students. The girls were opposites. The tall one was statuesque. She had a beautiful figure, the kind you saw on the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. The kind that made every girl around her take a hit on her self-esteem just by being in the same room. Her hair was golden, gently waving to the middle of her back. The short girl was pixie-like, thin in the extreme, with small features. Her hair was deep black, cropped short, and pointing in every direction. Skipping a paragraph. But this is not why I couldn't look away. I stared because of their faces, so different, so similar, were all devastatingly, inhumanly beautiful. They were faces you never expected to see except perhaps on the airbrushed pages of a fashion magazine, or painted by an old master as the face of an angel. It was hard to decide who was the most beautiful, maybe the perfect blonde girl or the bronze-haired boy. Twilight PDF, page 11. Instantly she knows that that's the circle she wants to be a part of. They're apart from all the other students, just like her. They're all very, very pretty. And that, judging by the long, loving descriptions, that is the reason that she admires them. Not, man, they look like fun people, but, oh, goodness gracious me, they look like supermodels. I want a piece of that. By the end of the book, she's willing to literally change every fiber of her being to be with them. She's willing to die to be more like members of her clique. That's not normal or healthy. But of course, by the end of the series, she gets her wish. What kind of a message is that sending? Hey, it's okay to alter everything about yourself to fit in with the cool kids. In fact, you should. So go ahead and smoke that pot if it will make you more popular. It's alright to go on a radical diet to get the approval of those cheerleaders. You want to squeeze into your prom dress, don't you? It's okay to neglect to tell your parents where you're going to hang out with people whose idea of a good time is smashing in windows and shooting people's pets. Popularity is paramount. You must fit in no matter what. Okay, that's a bit extreme, but you know what I'm getting at. To the impressionable audience, this is just validating a deep-seated need they feel. Now, let's turn our attention to the nature of Bella's human popularity. She moves to this small town, and everyone at school either wants to be her friend or hook up with her. I've moved to a new school before, and I can assure you it doesn't work that way. But I wish it did, and so does the target audience. Because you are Bella, you are popular. Everyone either wants to be your friend or hook up with you. That makes you feel pretty special, doesn't it? Like you're somebody important. The group needs you, but you don't necessarily need the group. You get to pick and choose who you hang out with. And you only hang out with the most elite people, the smartest, the strongest, and the most beautiful. If only it worked out that way in real life, right? Even the Cullens accept her right away because of her relationship with Edward. It takes little to no effort to graft herself onto them. And yet that isn't enough. She isn't satisfied until she's a genuine member in name and species. Do you see how potent this stuff is? It hits teenage girls right where it hurts. As they're struggling to find their niche in the world, here's Twilight telling them all the things they want to hear. Not only is it perfectly fine to change yourself to fit in, but it's also right to change yourself to make a guy like you more. But Edward doesn't ask Bella to change, the Twihards are going to say. He wants her to stay human. Ah, but he does want her to change. Look at prom, for instance. She's so upset at being made to interact with the plebes that she's crying. Does he turn the car around and work to come to some kind of compromise? No, he calls her difficult and makes her go anyway. Then guess what happens? She decides it's not so bad after all. Ergo, she changed for him. And it happens again at her birthday party in New Moon. She didn't want gifts, but he wanted her to have gifts, so she received them. And the worst instance is when she agrees to marry him, even though she doesn't want to, because he promises to turn her. Yes, that's right, he holds the promise of total acceptance over her head, using it to bend her to his will. Not cool, Edward. Not cool at all. The desire to be loved by others is a powerful thing, and Mary Sue writers crave it. They want they want to be what's called a big name fan, a queen bee, someone to look up to. So the first thing they do is secure fans by writing the kind of characters the most common denominator wants to read. They employ a number of tricks to get and keep fans, faking them in the author's notes, and writing their characters into the story as cameos. And when they run up against opposition, some of the more extreme ones pitch a fit and threaten to stop writing. Such a fit usually includes the phrases, "You just don't understand my characters," and "It hurts my feelings." Then their little groupies fall all over themselves trying to get them to change their minds. MEYER is your typical Sue writer. Twice now she has threatened not to finish one of her books because someone leaked a manuscript. Once for Eclipse and once for Midnight Sun. She is using her power as leverage, punishing the majority of her fans for something only very few did. And the Twihards bend over backwards to make amends because they need their crack. Think I'm joking? Take a look at the quilts they made her linked at your right. Be wary if you have a dial-up connection though. The first link is very image heavy. Have fun!